Dear students, in the previous class, that is time series class 2, we have discussed about the components of time series. How many components of time series are there? There are 4 components of time series. Number 1, secular trend. Number 2, seasonal variations. Number 3, cyclical variations. Number 4, irregular variations. Today, in class 3, we shall discuss about the methods of measuring secular trend. In this year and for your syllabus, we are confined only to measuring the first component of time series, that is secular trend. We are not going to measure the remaining 3 components, that is seasonal variation, cyclical variation and irregular variation. So in this year we are not measuring learning the measurement of the last three components, isn't it? We are discussing about only the methods of measuring secular trend this year. There are 4 methods of measuring secular trend. They are: number 1, graphical method or freehand method. Number 2, semi-averages method. Number 3, moving averages method. Number 4, least squares methods or method of least squares, isn't it? So how many methods are there for measuring the secular trend? There are 4 methods are there for measuring the secular trend. The second component, the seasonal variation. Seasonal variations are measured by seasonal indices. So we are not discussing about seasonal indices this year. We are discussing only about the methods of measuring secular trend this year. The first one, that is graphical method. Let us discuss graphical method or freehand method. This graphical method is the simplest method of measuring the secular trend. Here, firstly we draw histogram for the time series data. Histogram is the graph of time series. The spelling is very, very, very important. Histogram, Histogram, histogram. The spelling is very, very important. If you remove RI, it becomes histogram, which is another type of graph. So the graph of time series is called as histogram. Firstly, we have to draw histogram. How to draw histogram? The time periods of the time series are to be taken along the x-axis, and the values of the time series are to be taken along y-axis. For each pair of values, we get the points on the graph sheets. If all those points are joined by straight lines, we get a curve which is called as, we get a curve or we get a graph which is called as histogram. The histogram or the graph of original data or a graph of time series is usually zigzag shape. It has sharp ups and sharp downs. So with the help of histogram or the graph of time series, we cannot analyze the time series data. We cannot come to the result of the data. We cannot forecast anything from the time series data. So, in order to get the valid results, or if you want to estimate any value for the corresponding future year, that time series graph, histogram, the zigzag is to be removed. It is to be smoothened. How to smoothen? The zigzag of the curve is to be smoothened by drawing a freehand curve or by drawing a straight line. This is a subjective method of obtaining the trend line. ಸಬ್ಜೆಕ್ಟಿವ್ ಮೆಥಡ್ ಅಂತಂದರೆ ಒಬ್ಬೊಬ್ಬರು ಒಂದೊಂದು ಥರ ಹಾಕಬಹುದಾಗಿದೆ. ಒಂದು ನಿರ್ದಿಷ್ಟವಾಗಿರ್ತಕ್ಕಂಥ ನಿಯಮವೇನಿಲ್ಲ. ಹೀಗಾಗಿ ಇದಕ್ಕೆ ಸಬ್ಜೆಕ್ಟಿವ್ ಮೆಥಡ್ ಅಂತ ಕರಿತೀವಿ. ಮೆಥಡ್ ಈಸ್ ಸಬ್ಜೆಕ್ಟಿವ್ ಅಂತ ಕರಿತೀವಿ. ಸೊ ಎಲ್ಲರೂ ಕೂಡ ಒಂದೇ ನಿಯಮವನ್ನು ಪಾಲಿಸಬೇಕು ಅನ್ನೋದಾದರೆ ಅದು ಆಬ್ಜೆಕ್ಟಿವ್ ಮೆಥಡ್ ಆಗಿರುತ್ತೆ. ಹೌದದು. ಸೊ ಇದು ಅಂದರೆ ಒಂದು ಸ್ಟ್ರೈಟ್ ಲೈನನ್ನು ಹೇಳ್ತೀವಿ, ಆ ಟ್ರೆಂಡ್ ಲೈನನ್ನು ಹೇಳ್ತೀವಿ, ಅದು ಡಾಟೆಡ್ ಲೈನಿಂದ ಅದನ್ನು ತೋರಿಸ್ತೀವಿ. ಇದು ಯಾವುದನ್ನು ಟ್ರೆಂಡ್ ಲೈನನ್ನು. ಆ ಟ್ರೆಂಡ್ ಲೈನು ಎಲ್ಲ ಪಾಯಿಂಟ್ಗಳ ಮುಖಾಂತರ ಹಾದು ಹೋಗುವ ರೀತಿಯಲ್ಲಿ ಬಹುತೇಕ ಪಾಯಿಂಟ್ಗಳ ಮುಖಾಂತರ, ಎಲ್ಲ ಪಾಯಿಂಟ್ಗಳು ಅಲ್ಲದಿದ್ದರೂ ಕೂಡ ಬಹುತೇಕ ಪಾಯಿಂಟ್ಗಳ ಮುಖಾಂತರ ಹಾದು ಹೋಗುವ ರೀತಿಯಲ್ಲಿ ಹಾಕಬಹುದಾಗಿದೆ. ಅಥವಾ ಕೆಲವೊಂದಿಷ್ಟು ಪಾಯಿಂಟ್ಗಳು ಸ್ಟ್ರೈಟ್ ಲೈನ್ನ ಮೇಲ್ಭಾಗದಲ್ಲಿ, ಕೆಲವೊಂದಿಷ್ಟು ಪಾಯಿಂಟ್ಗಳು ಸ್ಟ್ರೈಟ್ ಲೈನ್ನ ಕೆಳಭಾಗದಲ್ಲಿ ಸಮಾನ ಅಂತರದಲ್ಲಿ ಬರುವ ಹಾಗೆ ಹಾಕಬಹುದಾಗಿದೆ. ಇದು ಅವರವರ ತಿಳುವಳಿಕೆಗೆ ಸಂಬಂಧಪಟ್ಟ ತಿಳುವಳಿಕೆಯ ರೀತಿಯಲ್ಲಿ ಅವರು ಟ್ರೆಂಡ್ ಲೈನನ್ನು ಹಾಕಬಹುದಾಗಿದೆ. ಈಗ ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಒಂದು ಉದಾಹರಣೆಯನ್ನು ಕೊಟ್ಟಿದ್ದೀವಿ ನೋಡಿ. ಎಕ್ಸಾಂಪಲ್, ಫಿಟ್ ಎ ಟ್ರೆಂಡ್ ಲೈನ್ ಟು ದ ಫಾಲೋಯಿಂಗ್ ಡಾಟಾ ಬೈ ಗ್ರಾಫಿಕಲ್ ಮೆಥಡ್. So here time series data is given. Year profits. Year 2003, 2004, 2005, 2006, 2007, 2008, 2009. Profits in the corresponding years 65, 95, 85, 115, 110, 120, 130. The years are taken along x-axis. The profits are taken along y-axis. So horizontal line is x-axis, the vertical is y-axis. The intersection of these two lines is the origin O00. On x-axis we have taken the years. So 2003, 2004. So we have to take the scale on x-axis. Scale is on x-axis 1 centimeter is equal to 1 year. So 2003. So here we have no scale from here to here. So this can be shown by a kinked line that is called as false baseline. So from origin to 2003 we have no scale. From 2003 onwards we have scale on x-axis 1 centimeter is equal to 1 year. So 2003, 2004, 2005, 2006, 2007, 2008, 2009. On y-axis, we have taken the scale 1 centimeter is equal to 10 units. So we have taken the minimum value is 65. So we have taken 60. From origin to 60, we have no scale. So this can be broken. This broken line, which is called as false baseline. Now, from 60 onwards, we have the scale 1 centimeter is equal to 10. So 60, 70, 80, 90, 100, 110, 120, 130. So profits are taken along y-axis and years are taken along x-axis. We get points for each pair of values. For 2003, profit is 65. So 2003 profit is 65, this point. For 2004, 95, this point. For 2005, 85, this point. For 2006, 115, this point. For 2007, 110, this point. For 2008, 120, this point. For 2009, 130, this point. So there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. There are 7 pairs of values. So we get 7 points on the graph sheet. By joining these points by straight lines, I have joined successive points by straight lines. So by joining, we get a curve, we get a graph which is called as histogram. So this, you see, this is of a zigzag shape. very sharp edges, sharp up and sharp downs are there. Sudden ups and sudden downs are there. So this is histogram. Now to draw trend line, you see this dotted line is called as trend line. So a line is drawn in such a way that the 2 points are above the line and the 4 points are below the line. So this is the trend line. I have drawn like this. This is a subjective ಮೆಥಡ್. ಅಂದರೆ ಒಬ್ಬೊಬ್ಬರು ಒಂದೊಂದು ಥರ ಹಾಕ್ಬೋದು. ಕೆಲವರು ಇನ್ನೂ ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ಕೆಳಗಡೆ ಹಾಕ್ಬೋದು, ಇನ್ನು ಕೆಲವರು ಮೇಲೆ ಹಾಕ್ಬೋದು, ಇನ್ನು ಕೆಲವರು ಮ್ಯಾಕ್ಸಿಮಮ್ ಪಾಯಿಂಟ್ಸ್ಗಳ ಮುಖಾಂತರ ಹಾದು ಹೋಗೋ ರೀತಿಯಲ್ಲಿ ಹಾಕ್ಬೋದು. ಸೊ ವಿ ಗೆಟ್ ಎ ಟ್ರೆಂಡ್ ಲೈನ್. ದ ಟ್ರೆಂಡ್ ಲೈನ್ ಈಸ್ ಶೋನ್ ಬೈ ಡಾಟೆಡ್ ಲೈನ್. Now, by extending this straight line in upwards, we get an estimated profit to for any corresponding year. So, this is the method of obtaining the trend values by graphical method. Now, let me go to the second method of measuring secular trend, that is semi-averages method. Semi means off, isn't it? So here the time series data is to be divided into exactly 2 halves. Do you understand? So if there are 6 years, we have to break into 2 parts. First 3 years, next 3 years. If there are 8 years, we can split into 2 parts. First 4 years and next 4 years, isn't it? So if the number of years are even numbers, we can exactly divide them into 2 parts. We can divide them into exactly 2 parts. In case of odd number of years, we cannot exactly divide them into 2 parts. So in such a way, in such a cases, we have to delete the middle year, the value of the middle year. Then we get even number of years. So if there are even number of years, we can split them into exactly 2 halves. Here you see an example. Draw a trend line by the method of semi-averages. Years, sales in thousands. Years, 9 years are taken from 2002, 2002, 2003, 2004, 2005, 2006, 2007, 2008, 2009, 2010. The sales in thousands for the corresponding years are also given. 412, 438, 444, 454, 470, 418, 490, 500, 530. There are 9 time periods, 9 years. So it is odd number of years. So in case of odd number of years, we cannot split the data into exactly 2 halves. So the middle year, that is the 5th year, is to be deleted. So here the middle term is left out. Now we get the first 4 years, the next 4 years. For the first 4 years, for 2002, 2003, 2004, 2005, we have to find the totals of the first 4 years and totals of the next 4 years, which are called as semi-totals. You see, add these 4 values, 412, 438, 444, 454. If you add them, you will get the total 1748. And this semi-total first is to be written in the middle of those 4 years. So we cannot write anywhere else. We have to give the correct position for the semi-total. So for the middle year, here in the first 4 years, Once again, it is even number of years. We cannot get exactly the middle year. So we take the middle point, time point as between 2003 and 2004. So this is the that is mid-year of mid-year between 2003 and 2004, that is 2003.5. For 2003.5 against, we have to write the semi total. So by adding these four values, we get 1748. It is written against the gap between 2003 and 2004. For the next half, also we have to get the total, which is called as semi total. So we have four values. If you add 480, 490, 500, 530, you will get the total 2000. It is written against the gap between 2008 and 2009. Next, semi-averages are to be obtained. Semi-averages, or they are also called as trend values. How to obtain the semi-averages? Semi-total is to be divided by the number of years. So, average means sum of the values divided by the number of the values. Here, 4 values added, so the sum is 1748. To get the average, it is to be divided by number 4 because 4 values are added. So, 1748 divided by 4, you will get 437. So, it is to be written against that semi-total. So, this is 437. So, it is written in this fourth column. So, also for the second half, semi-average is to be obtained. So, semi-total is 2000. It is divide this by 4, you will get to 500. The 500 is to be written against 2000. So, we have obtained two semi-averages or two trend values. Now, these semi-averages are to be drawn on a graph. You see, this is the graph of semi-averages. The graph showing semi-averages. Here also, the years are taken along x-axis and the values, sales in thousands, are taken along y-axis. Scale is given here. Firstly, we have to obtain a histogram. That is by plotting the given paired values of the time series, we get the points on a graph sheets. By joining those points on a graph sheet, you will get a zigzag curve, which is called as time series graph, or technically it is called as histogram. Afterwards, we have to draw a trend line. So for trend line, we have to take the trend values. We have two trend values in semi-averages method. That is two these two are the semi-averages or trend values. These four trend values, semi-averages, are to be taken along on the graph sheets. So 437 is to be taken along y-axis. 437 and 500 are to be taken along y-axis. For the corresponding years, here for 437, the corresponding time period is 2003.5. So for 2003.5, for this time point, you have to mark 437 along y-axis. So you have, this is the first semi average, first trend point. Next, for second half, semi average is 500. This corresponds to 2008.5. So for 2008.5, it is here. This is not here. So this is the second semi-average. This is the second semi-average or second trend point. So we have two semi-averages. These two semi-averages are taken on the graph sheet. These two points are joined by a straight line, dotted straight line. This is dotted straight line is called as trend line. So you see, this is this straight line is called as semi-average line or trend line. By extending this trend line in the upward direction, you can estimate or you can get any estimated value for the corresponding future year. So this is the method of obtaining semi-averages. Do you understand? In the next class, we shall discuss about the third method of obtaining the secular trend, that is moving averages method. Thank you.